This is something, huh? Gonna stream up on this. Pull it up, man.
かくしてモンキー D ルフィは幼い頃に出会った偉大な海賊赤髪のシャンクスとの約束を果たすため一人海に出た。そしていつか海賊王になるという夢を胸に海を進むルフィはイーストブルーでさまざまな出会いを経験する。海賊狩りの剣士ゾロ、狙撃手のウソップ、コックのサンジ、航海士のナミ、そして海賊船ゴーイングメリー号を航海の仲間に加えた。ルフィたちが目指すことに決めたのは世界中の海賊たちがしのぎを削るグランドライン。その果てにはかつての海賊王ゴールド・ロジャーが残したと言われるワンピースがあるとされる。数々の仲間と共にイーストブルーの名だたる強者や海賊たちを倒したルフィは3000万ベリーの賞金首となっていた。長い航海に備えるために立ち寄った町ローグタウンで海軍大佐白陵のスモーカーに追われたがなんとか振り切りイーストブルーを後にする。
俺はオールブルーを見つけるために
Enjoy the adventure.
海賊王。俺は大剣豪に。私は
This is a
世
complete
界
shit
地
show.
図を書くため。
We'll try to figure it out. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you know what it is.
I can't see chat,
よし、やるか。
so what are you doing?
クロコダイルはアラバスタのヒーローなの？国の
This could be a problem. I think we'll do an hour just to show people again. And then I'll probably, you know, get Shanks off camera and then come back. Maybe like that.
ホワイト
話は後だ。協力して片付けちまう。
ホワイトストライク
なんですぐに海軍に見つかってんのよ。
And we're going to smoke a second for
くそ、まだまだしつこいなキャムリン。
ホワイトストライク
Well, it doesn't start. OBS doesn't give enough video output to the stream to YouTube. Like my computer doesn't fucking die. Perfect.
その隙に海軍を蹴散らすぞ。
Break through the siege wall, huh? Where's the siege wall at? Special moves going on? I don't know. I think this guy's better than fucking World Seeker already. Just because it seems like the controls are somewhat.
What do you right?
What's going on here?
Pull this chat out.
You just pop it out right on the cog, on the little 3 dots. Pop it out. Yeah.
There you go. Chief. Chat readable. Kinda. Get glasses.
capture the desert town.
You didn't even play World Seeker. You didn't experience the rancid garbage.
It was hot trash.
It's Warriors game, right? So they just copy paste assets and make them better.
Yeah, I imagine
So you're basically playing World Seeker 3.
I imagine the Power Warriors 3.
You're basically playing World Seeker 4 because they've had fucking 3 different games to get Woohoo right. You know?
Yeah. That's okay, that's tiny. That's funny.
Yeah, we're trying to fix tech problems. Eric,
He's just complaining?
tech problems galore. I don't have.
I think we could have a solution with the second monitor on your screen.
Well, we could do a Let's Play series,
Yeah, could do.
but this game's long as fuck. And I don't know, do people actually want to see a Let's Play series?
Let's just destroy that wall. Look at that. That didn't happen. Kushin, is this game canon?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, people on Twitter are saying Onigashima is in the game and it's actually a volcano. Do you buy it?
No evidence so far. I don't know what that would have to do with.
It's actually and the like mansion's on top of the skull, and the mansion isn't actually a skull. The whole thing's like a volcano.
I mean, I don't know what the volcano would do to increase the stakes unless it erupts. Okay, you can see
Yeah, let's actually what it comes in. It's like, still inconclusive if Alkano can control lava from volcanoes.
So people saying they want to see Power Warriors Let's Play. We'll do an hour stream. We'll see.
We'll regroup.
We'll regroup, right? We'll see what happens.
This is my ally, really good now. That's tiny for sure. Yeah, alright.
Because we can do local split screen, can't we?
Yes.
Yes. Multiple controls. Exactly the factors. If we're gonna do a Let's Play, we're gonna do the good old face cam shit. For extra effect.
Do you think... What about my PC doing all that capturing?
Is the stream half good? Is it better than before?
I can't see it.
Well, we'll ask in chat.
Now, Power is gonna lag regardless, right?
No. I don't like it.
I'm a little bit afraid of that.
It's not too graphically intensive.
Probably do it for...
Game's not fucking stay out. But it's already more. It's more cohesive than World Seeker.
Well, I don't know. Well, like, to me, World Seeker, the controls didn't seem that responsive. Would that be correct?
It was all the extra animation.
Well, was it the unable to cancel things was the problem?
It was just like everything, you know, took too long to come out.
Sure. And then you were committed and you couldn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, surely we do the Zoro-Sanji tag team. Surely we do that. The story, because it is a story. If it's a Let's Play series, it has to end.
Yeah.
So what did we do? story?
I don't know.
See all these questions.
Just kind of jumping around here, smacking things but not paying attention. I see flashing things on the map. I don't know what I'm doing.
Eric ever played a what if?
No.
You go to the port, you capture the territory, and you just keep on doing that until you win.
Is this the bar ghost town going down? What the thing is? Going below? That's my territory? Yeah, sure.
So you go, you beat up dudes, you capture territory, you go to the spots.
Is
beat
there
the
any
boss.
strat involved? Are we gonna play this on easy just to blast through it? Or are we gonna play this on hard? What do you think about that?
Well, the strat. I don't know what the strat is. Like, because
But dude-
to lose is pretty hard to get a game over.
Do you want to think about this game?
I mean, I think it would be a better experience if there was a little bit of pushback in the game. Do enough. Because these games
Hey look, it's Toshigi and we're beating her ass.
These games are notoriously easy,
Yeah.
and they're just fun matches.
Which I'm doing right now. Maybe you can hear it on mic.
How'd you feel about the tutorial versus the basic, right? That's my one thing.
You are committed to your input buttons, which might be a problem because there's no real.
I mean, that's fine. I was looking to get out of like a boss.
They do have massive telegraphs, so it's probably not going to get here. Snake Man was brutally annoying to control though, I will add. Probably beat Toshigi though. Toshigi got beat. Kusha, what do you think about that?
Stand.
Feet don't free. What's he doing here?
I guess they're just chucking in all these blue villains.
ようやく言ったか
How fast do you reckon we can get this Kusha?
Well, you know, not as fast as I do in foot race.
Isn't Book the fastest?
Yeah.
He's the lightest. These fucking goons. Now remember when Oda was trying in like the East Blue, like Island Park to get the Navy men different clothes designs? And then he just stopped?
He usually does with the animals.
Sure, but they're all kind of just wearing suits. You look at like Brand New, who's like old as shit. And he's got like a completely different outfit on.
He's wearing like a
I guess Momo, Sage, and Shinton have like different outfits.
You're allowed to wear whatever you want. Sure. When you're have some sort of rank.
Maybe he just straight up looks like a fucking filler design. With a scarf, fucking many scarves on.
片付いた
I'm just kind of following your Reddit because I don't know what I'm doing.
Look, just
Your favorite rings along the road.
just beat Alabasta. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a long mission,
Alright.
and then we'll go from there. You know, let's see how.
This is the chest here.
Bit of a test stream, gauging a bit of interest. See if the people want the Let's Play series.
もう少しで逃げ切れるな
What am I
い
doing
つ
here?
までも逃げ切れると思うな
My rings.
Ha! Ho!
Fucking attack. Again.
麦わらの一味
Shigi's back up for shit.
And for the Let's Play series, tell us what you want. You know, cool gameplay, we're gonna edit it, what do you want?
Hours, 20 minutes.
World Seeker split ups, dailies,
てめえどこ行ってやがった
daily videos.
すみません道に迷
About
ってしま
3 people watched it last time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've taken 0 damage this entire time and really paying attention.
That's why I'm saying we need to get it.
てめえらを逃がすわけにはいかねえんだよ
Go to the Zora sign.
連中だな
I mean, we get Shanks and Mayhem. Yeah, there's no bad backman Christian. There's no Cracker. Do you think they're from the shit?
There's no Cracker.
It's basically the old roster.
Who are the new characters?
Katakuri, Big Mom, Kaido,
Germa,
Capone, Germa, Hawkins,
Drake.
He's a boss though. I don't know if he's playable.
He's on the code. We don't have. Do we have any of the scabbards?
No scabbards. No. There's surely DLC packs are gonna be absolutely nuts around this.
You're gonna have Rodan, you're gonna have Roger, Prime, Rayleigh.
Prime. That's what I should get. I'm kind of disappointed when I saw Shanks' moveset and he had the gun from Power Warriors 3.
I told you.
Strong Will promotion.
I told you.
And I'm like, you're not gonna. You know, we have the Roger move, maybe give it that.
Well, I told you. They just copy and paste from other Pyros there. So.
Yeah. Shout out to him, he's still banned in the Discord.
What is?
Push is not letting up. He's had it up. I missed the jackhammer, which is one of my favorite moves in this movie.
Pretty sure you have them back in the game.
Yeah, I missed it though.
You missed it.
I missed fucking Smoker.
What is the smoke effect on it?
It does some debuff, it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah, Smoker and Wellseeker. Notorious for one shots.
I should have played that game on Brutal Intense. Remember when he the fucking Pacifista? Kizaru classic.
Now, will Kizaru be an equal challenge in this game?
Kizaru are the true overlord.
The only character that's actually Emerald.
Yeah, Christian, why construct this complete scheme that doesn't make any sense? Or you could just, you know...
What's the topic of the show?
Let's just be a little bit...
Now, as we all know, there's no episode this week. So, what do we do?
We're doing a live stream, sure. We're doing a call-in show.
Or do we do the Trojan Horse?
Trojan Horse?
The Trojan Horse, the,
what are we talking
Power
about?
Wars 3 Let's Play in there. Get people watching the first episode. Trojan Horse that shit in there. Power Wars 4 Special.
Maybe.
Maybe that's how we do it.
Possible. So no call-in show, you say entirely.
You know, call-in shows get a little outplayed, not really much to talk about since, you know, since the last time we did it. Like, what's changed?
Maybe we should get a few community friends coming in.
Community friends.
Maybe we should have a little bit of a, every time we're on break, we should get the crew together. What do you think about that? Is that possible?
I mean, you know, Silvers will turn up.
Talking about King of Lion, talking about Silvers, talking about Rago.
I mean, Silvers is guaranteed to show up. Alright?
Sure.
Dritz Kern probably guaranteed to show up, but no one wants to see him, you know. So.
VV in here, unplayable.
I mean,
I'm sure someone's mad about that.
now, why was there no Arlong Park? Why we starting?
You know,
No.
I think games are gonna do this more and more. We just straight up start on the new world.
I mean, I wouldn't. If they do the new world, then they're doing it in depth. They don't necessarily.
Next mission, Christian, Sanji in the Crocodile Palace.
Oh shit. Now, what do you think about the actual environments themselves?
You know, they're alright.
You alright? Do you reckon they achieved the scale?
Let's go
So
what?
now you're unlocking this bullshit.
Right.
You know?
Beginner maps, Saji map,
This is what I mean by you have to do the story mode to unlock all this shit.
growth, normal mission. So now we're playing as Saji, right?
上出来だ名演技だったぜ
Now Saji, we love Saji, and we love the combinations.
You do it in Power Warrior games.
He doesn't want to do it, you know. Now, Christian, people think that the hardest thing to do is one of the most impressive things to most people in animation are like the flashy stuff, like we saw with the fucking, you know, shooting star, whatever the fuck. But to me, what impresses me the most is the successful combinations of attacks with the playing camera.
So, it's still kind of with the, no camera tricks, all action.
No camera
All
tricks.
animation.
We're talking about raw animation. Give it a
So
clean.
you're talking about,
Which to me, the best is the original Saji vs. Kurobori or whatever the fuck his name is in Arlen Park, because back in 90 whatever, Christian.
the movie, you're talking about the movie.
No, I'm not talking about the movie.
What do you mean?
I'm talking
The
about
movie's
Arlen
better.
Park.
The movie's
I'm
better.
talking about the original,
Alright.
not the fucking
Special.
special.
Special one's better.
Special's not better.
Okay.
The original's better.
Eric's saying the original though. Maybe I'm getting confused, I don't know.
Well, you can watch them back to back later.
Maybe I'm confused.
Which is, you know, that's high level stuff, Christian.
Yeah. Combination. The choreography.
See, the hardest things to do are not the flashy stuff. It's the fucking keeping everything subtle and consistent. Keeping from pose to pose.
Yeah.
It's great.
Everything. As the Power Warrior tradition.
Am I paying attention? No. Picking up any good words.
The Power Warriors game, that's what it is.
Anyway, Saji has. Come on, Tommy. You could have given me a combination on page 1. He's a big boy.
You get the new guy who do the flashy ones, alright?
We got some stuff. You know, we got some smears hitting him, going impact, blood coming out.
俺が騒ぎの張本人だ
What do you think about webtoons using motion blur to imply movement?
You talking about comics? On webtoons?
Yeah. I'm talking about webcomics loving that blur.
You talking about Tarot Gods?
Well, I want them to do it. I'm not talking about Tarot.
Well, you know,
Instead of actually drawing,
it has its place, but
where's the Would you ever use the motion blur in a comic?
on a still,
Yeah.
on a still picture. Well, you're supposed to draw the motion blur. You're not supposed to use an effect
Well,
in the medium.
yeah.
So I'd say that about that. Motion blur in animation, useful. Not that. See, Christian, it all comes down to the base drawing.
Yeah.
If your base drawings are good, and you get the effect across, no need for camera shakes,
No need for blurs.
no need for blurs. It's all built into the motion.
That's what I'm saying. What's the difference between that and still in?
I wouldn't use digital motion blur. You'd assume that you'd draw it in.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about digital motion blur.
I know what you're talking about. I've said it with fucking Tarot Gods, special effects.
Like, if I just go into Photoshop and hit blur, and blur the fuck out of it, on like a still character standing still. Why wouldn't I just draw an artist? You know?
I mean, you know, it's its own specific thing doing after images and fucking motion blur lines and getting all that looking good. Very difficult to get right. All those hand-drawn effects that, you know, you just apply.
No, as Eric always brings up, it's clarity versus type.
これ以上騒ぎ立てる必要もなさそうだな
Yes.
そろそろ行くか
I'd rather something be clean.
Talk to me about how you drew speed in Castle Wars. How'd you convey speed in Castle Wars?
Panel
Lines.
succession, Christian.
What about lines? Usually any effects. Any
I
effects?
cannot remember. Did I do anything?
Surely
Yes.
you did line.
There was a complete line work on one of the hits at the end when he goes flying into the rocks. One of the first hits in that succession. It's a skill that you need to practice all lines moving in the same motion, keeping the line, keeping the drawing clear enough, but also getting that effect. You know, the weight of that effect as well has implications. It's about the stroke. If you tend to hook your strokes after you finish the line, you're not going to get the intended effect. You're going to make sure your stroke, yeah. Well, not even straight. It's just like finishing your pen strokes in the same direction that you started. Because if you tend to hook them on the ends, you're going to have to get rid of those hooks.
But put him on. Now, what do you think about having different speed effects for different levels of speed? You get your fast, you go slow, and then you go, low level speed, you go medium level speed, and you top tier speed. Just to convey the different levels of speed.
Different effects.
Because we always talk about.
Jesus, we're lagging here hard.
We always talk about. Alright. Sanji's the slow mo here. We're crunching hard, alright?
Crunching, what's going on? We slaughtering enemies. Brutality over here. We might have not even been live, Chris. We don't even know. Who knows?
How are we live? We are indeed live. It's not the stream. It's
Something's going on.
the game. It's laggy as fuck. Well.
Anyway, we'll look at all these dudes over there, Christian.
Well, I don't know, it must be, it has to be, I don't know what it is, dude. It's a computer problem.
Let's get out of here.
What is it? Is it an OBS? Is it an Elgato issue? PC issue?
I had Task Manager up before. I was only running at like 30%.
Something's
Anyway.
execution.
Something's died. Let's just pause for a second.
We're done.
Let's see. We're lagging out.
Alright, well. That's Fire Wars 4! What?
Are we back?
Alright.
Where are we loading, Christian? Alright, well, I think we're back.
Some technology, you know what?
Some loading things, perhaps.
Yeah. Back to the conversation.
What are we talking about? Speed?
Talk about speed. Because we always talk about, it's hard to denote different levels of speed.
Yes.
Because if you have the same effects, surely you're trying to imply it's the same level of speed.
We can talk about smearing the character, but I would say you denote speed via not the character itself, but all the extra additions you have on the character, such as hair, clothes.
But I'm talking different levels of effects. You have your after images, you have your speed lines, you have your teleportations.
The only way to clearly denote difference in speed, in my opinion, is how you structure your panel setup. Because
So it's all panel setup.
yes, you can have because in Cancel Lords I have it basically teleport in front of the character. I chose a wide and an ultra close, kind of in like a slow motion, and then the attack lands. With a reaction shot of the other character, kind of like implying that teleportation, and then close, real close, so there's no time for the other character to react in that way.
So, would you say the teleport is a fast level speed? Denoted.
Yes, and then we can talk about slow-mo, but no one really knows how slow-mo is, and I'm sure you could pull Togashi and give stats, or fucking...
We're talking about purely visual. We're not talking about dialogue, because you can say...
Make sure, well, you gotta make sure that your panel structure is denoting speed and making that clear. Then we can talk about what you actually draw the speed lines and stuff. You would only draw those speed lines in motion, right? So say like your character's moving in a straight line.
Yeah.
You draw those speed lines.
In that straight line.
In that straight line, you do curves, you're gonna lose speed.
What about trails? What do you stand on trails?
Of the whole character moving, or
Character, weapons, fists. What are your opinions on trails? Is it worth just doing a full line work? You put a trail on that? What do you do?
早くレインディナーズに向かおう
how do I? We're talking about animation. We're talking about fucking frames, panels. It really depends on what you wanna give across. Because like, if you're doing like a hook, roundhouse or whatever, maybe you want to do that. Sure, but you gotta do it in a way that the way you draw it will dictate the impact of the line. If you just draw a smooth curve with no like texture to it, it'll come off as like slow. But if you dirty that up per se, with like hatching and like that dirty black stuff, and then you kind of give it a little bit of texture and depth, you might have a heavier impact. But if you have like a sword, you want to do like light, straight, clean strokes. And if you don't, it also depends how you taper it as well. It's not very complex. You just gotta kind of like do it until it looks the way you want it to.
What are your opinions on multi-hit panels? We're talking Gatlings, we're talking Mudas, we're talking, Iraqi fantasy is multi-hit panels.
Tough skill.
Is it a master skill?
It's a master. It's
Get right.
after images and multi-hits, or if you can't do one hit on a page, don't.
Well, the multi-hit's the big full page, big double spread.
Sure, but well, if you can't convey a single strike properly, your multi-hits will not work at all.
Here's the thing, multi-hits, right? We're talking multi-hits. Do you draw? Because Iraqi does this, right?
And like the choice on angle and camera placement is key.
See, Iraqi does this. He always draws a hit, right?
Sure.
And then draws hits around it. But the character being hit is reacting to every hit. But the character that's doing the action is in a static pose with fists flying around.
Is that the stand or is that the character?
Well, the stand is the one that's moving.
Sure.
So the stand's the one who's doing the...
He's doing the original first punch.
There's no original first punch. It always starts with the move.
Right, but the stand pose is what pose is that?
I want to say the stand pose is the final punch. Or a punch in the sequence.
And then there's the fist flying around.
And then the fist flying around.
Does he have any blows on the
the
back?
additional fists?
Yeah.
The additional fists have the impacts.
You also you gotta be careful of your choice of origin of where these fists are coming from as well. You gotta make it make sense a little bit. And then,
Iraqi doesn't really do that. He's doing different perspectives for the fists. He's doing crazy shit.
but he doesn't. It's a balance between clarity and like effect, because like if you draw like 19 different characters, both the attacker and the recipient, the panel becomes unclear.
I think you never draw the opponent more than once.
Sure.
Because they're the one being hit. Why would they be moving so fast?
Yeah,
You just draw multiple impacts hits.
But you gotta also be careful. I would draw the first character doing all the hits, so I know where all my fists are. and then draw the reaction. I wouldn't draw
Would you draw the fist? Would you draw the effect first?
I'd rough out all the fists.
Yeah, yeah. You rough it out. And then,
I'd rough out all the fists and then draw like that. What? Yeah, so again, the rough stage is crucial. But yeah, I would draw the fists. I would draw the pose of the attacker, then the fists. Then I would draw the reaction to the fists. But I never really do multi-hits.
they're hard business.
Because like, massive commitment.
Sure, the full page for final hit.
You gotta at least half a page.
The multi-hits,
half
the
a
multi-hits,
page.
the multi-hits the final hit.
Sure.
And then we can talk about the multi-dodge after effects. With the multiple dodges.
Which
The
is also
multiple hits.
brutality.
Alright.
Yes.
Would you say there's a master level?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Those are the
top tier abilities.
You have to master so many other things before we can start talking about multi-hits.
Yeah.
And like, you're in trouble if you put blur on those.
Nah, you don't put blood on multi-hits.
Because like,
It depends how you do after images. Because there's another question. How you do after images?
I'll draw you.
Would you do it pure lines? Would you do it as the same character, just different?
I would draw the original and then like draw all the dodges around him, and then like you would. Kinda
Would that be just line work? Would that be different opacity?
You draw each dodge
Yeah.
and then like have line work
Don't know.
going in the motion of where the dodge is going from the original pose,
Yeah.
which is hard to like.
Just saying. With the attacks going off. With the attacks going off.
What attacks?
Let's just say the opponent's attacks going off.
Yeah.
They're doing the multi. Alright, so in theory, right, what angle do you choose there? Do you choose over the head? You have to get everything in a shot, right? Or do you do up from their face?
Well, hard to say because it depends on what you've done previously to set up this swing. That will dictate what angle will look the best. But usually you'd have your main character from the back.
Wouldn't you say a multi-hit, a multi-dodge, is to denote sort of the fight going on in shorthand?
Well,
One big panel to say he's dodging, he's sweeping.
Well, in my mind, it's not to do that. It's to.
What's it for?
It's for him to dodge a single multi-strike. It's not to imply that the fight's still going. Like,
Well, let's talk about Dragon Ball then, because we got, you know, those sky panels where they're fucking clashing in the air?
yes,
Is that a multi-hit? What is that? That's clearly to do on time. is it not?
yeah, that's time passing
Through
through
the fight.
each hit, which I did very carefully.
Now, is that cheap? Would you say is that a cheap effect? Because
Well,
it's a background with exploring one thing.
exactly. I used it as a background while the narrator was talking.
Yeah. So would you say,
I wouldn't do that with as a legitimate.
like, if you're having a series,
Focus.
yeah, it would just be there to dish out additional information.
Yeah. Because when I had the basically a montage of trading blows, I used that to have narration over the top.
Sure.
When I usually do all this stuff, I usually think about it in motion, not necessarily stand up. Which I guess I think is that the intent? Because like, does the viewer view it as? Does the viewer view it as a movie, or do they view it as each individual panels? Because the space between panels is denotes time. I think you're supposed to take it as moving image.
Maybe. Now, Vivi's tits are way too big.
For per time skip, correct. What are you gonna do? Nami's the correct. There you go. Oh, hey, Christian. Hey,
Clear times, doesn't know what he's doing.
I'm just kind of running around. Yeah.
Alright.
But yeah, Christian, there's a lot of I don't know, people on Twitter coming at me saying, you know, oh, the One Piece anime is good. Now, it's fine.
Okay. Eric not.
It's fine, you
Buying.
know.
Eric's not buying what they're selling. As usual.
It's interesting, right? Because like in animation, you can't do reshoots. You can't get coverage of different angles. Storyboard is paramount. You're basically committed to that.
Yeah.
I think people rely too heavily on. I'd say more of a. I would be a purist in terms of like how I do things. As like, I want to use traditional film structure more than animation sheets, because you lose something. Is it quality? I don't know how to describe it.
What are animation shoots that you can't do in film?
You know, various like color cards where like there's a bunch of like speed. You know how they do those like the background's like red and it's like moving lines,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
You don't like that stuff.
Or like
But isn't that? I thought that was always to mimic the effects of the manga.
what it's doing, well, what it's implying, right? What all those speed lines are supposed to imply is fast background movement,
Yeah.
because the characters moving through the background.
Yeah. And it works in panels because sometimes you got a small panel, you can't fucking draw a block.
Yeah, and it works. And, yeah, there's a lot of background cheating going on where like there's a lot of parallax to that art. Because basically what sells most animation is, say, high quality would be because all the backgrounds are painted with heavy detail, and then like the characters on top can have like kind of shitty frames,
Yeah.
and then people, yeah, because the entire image, most of it's well painted. But when you well paint things, you can't move the camera because you can't move the background in an accurate way. But yeah, moving backgrounds is not done, which is a shame to me. You get great effects.
Animated backgrounds.
Yes. That no one moves them because usually they're painted.
So expensive. Really fucking high
Theoretically,
quality.
but it comes down to smart design from day one.
What is it
If that's your intent.
You've never seen it in a forest. You know there's no chance. No chance that's moving.
What can you think about what that involves?
Trees moving, shrubs, bushes.
Sure.
You know, shrubs and trees reacting to air blasts and sonic boom and shit. It's not possible.
Oh,
It's in high quality, painting. Well, it's possible. You just need.
Well, I'm not saying that you paint it. You wouldn't paint those backgrounds because you wouldn't be able to animate them. That'd look strange because of all the painting. You couldn't get the strokes to transition smoothly. It'd be
Well, you
a
could
nightmare.
if you're fucking. You know,
Well, if you had 1,000 years, perhaps. But yeah, it's like I don't know. There's various things I want to do that
this isn't done.
that just isn't done because of, you know, they want to keep frames low. They want to do all kinds of things, make it look nice. Like animation, the focus is the art form, animation. It's not painted backgrounds. You know?
But if there's painted background too.
And if you don't have that, tool of moving the camera, then like you become limited. You know what? Good choices. I just landed at Gum Gum, Jackhammer, Crocodile, Eagle Market. Like I said on Twitter yesterday, Kuchin, it's not the bombastic, large things that are difficult. It's the subtle, small things that are difficult. Because you're scrutinized. Because you actually slow things down and people can see consistency in frames. Say if you draw Sanji from one position to the other without any transitions, you don't have to be too careful with consistency. Because they're not right next to each other in succession.
So what you're saying is because here's my,
that looks like those are. What I want people to do is like, don't be seduced. They are very nice effects, and they work.
well, this is what I was saying.
But the more the One Piece, the more like still stuff, the more quieter moments are like bare bones.
Why waste money? Like, that's the thing. Why waste money? But you have a budget. Why were you wasting money on a scene on this?
That's also another thing. Like you know Castlevania, right? You think you'd say that's a high quality show, right? Just based on the clips you've seen on Twitter.
Well, I watched it on one day. I watched all of it.
Cook getting beaten.
I watched all of Castlevania. Right?
And you noticed that the quality wasn't as good as it's promoted on Twitter?
Well, you know, when characters are talking, quality dips. You know, that's what it is. When characters swinging around whips and shit and fire,
What's good?
effects going off, look great. Alright? High quality show.
Can we keep it? Now, when we look at a movie, right? Same as has been said. Look at something like John Wick. Everything is shot well.
It's a movie. There's no, you can point a camera at
Look
something.
at.
You know, you can point a camera at something. You can't do that in animation. You can't just fucking
Well, you
camera
can.
move around.
It's not that much more intensive to do small additional frames to give a little bit of life to it.
But what I'm saying is,
Because like it's an entire product, right?
it's the choice of shots, right?
Sure.
It's let's have this from a top angle, so we don't have to draw the background, so we only see his road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We only see the dirt floor. We don't see, you know, the cityscape. We don't see the town. So we don't have to draw that town activities. We don't have to draw the buildings. Let's do it from this angle, so we don't have to draw that.
Yeah.
Let's have multiple episodes of characters just talking to each other. No.
Yeah.
Just to get, just to save time and money.
I think action is quote unquote expensive because not many people have the confidence to do it.
Would you say it requires more thought?
There's two types of animators. Ones that think action and large movements and that kind of thing are difficult, and people that think the more subtle stuff is more difficult. And then like,
But subtle is still action based, isn't it? Like why? Like, because if we're talking about set pieces, right?
well, this is the thing, right? People, when you draw poster poses, right? Some people have a difficult time drawing the same character in the same scene, but a drastically different pose to what they get. Where when you have a more subtle movement, the character is relatively in the same position, so you're able to judge appropriately where the next key frame would be. So say if a character moves his head downwards, you have the kind of structure already there because it's a subtle movement, right? Let's say like an action scene where the character's going from like, say, wind up to hit. It's a more difficult task in people's minds to draw those two vastly different poses. And they have that connective tissue. Because it's all about how you draw the first and last frame, and then you work in between.
But in my mind,
So some people have a very difficult time visualizing movement from A to B, and then because the arm doesn't move the same as the hips, for example. Everything's off. So your pose work has to be extremely good to do those kind of things.
well, what I'm saying is like, the action scene is normally the climax of the episode.
And that's what gets the retweets.
That's what gets the retweets, that's what gets in the trailer. You don't have people talking to each other in subtle, a little bit of animation in the trailer.
Yeah.
People are gonna go away and
Well, it
say,
depends. What do you want people to go, this is flashy, or do you want them to connect with the characters
well,
in a more emotional way? Because
what
like,
are we talking about? We're talking about what kind of show we're talking about? Are we talking about drama? Why do that animation? See, that's the thing, right? You gotta think about the medium as well. Because you do animation because you can draw shit that you can't do in real life. Like, why have a drama animated? That's the thing. Why have an animated drama show where you can just get cameras and actors together and you skip all the process?
well, it's two things you can't do.
Like, what can't you do in a drama? When you talk about settings, fantasies,
Vehicles, effects, without a huge. Well, it's much cheaper to do those kind of things. You don't have to like get 1,000 people to do it. So like, if you want people to, if you want, like, that's the thing with the more subtle stuff, right? They become like real. They become real emotional characters because they kind of react in a realistic way. So if you get that emotional state conveying properly, they connect with the characters, and you can do crazy. Like you can do both. It's just about having the members of the team that have both both skill sets. Because not everyone has all the skill sets. It's really specific stuff going on. That's why they have various individuals.
That's why I really don't get why we have these slice of life animes where it's just about, you know, 3 girls in a town doing nothing.
Yeah.
Why not just have a show with actors? Why we have to have animated? Why animate?
Visual appeal.
But surely a well shot, photorealistic, beautiful camera shot. It's more effective and cheaper than a fucking actually animated and shit.
Well, those, I don't know, those slice of lives, them talking isn't necessarily
You can pay actors.
expensive.
You just pay actors. Should get a camera, you pay actors. So like, why use the medium of animation? You're not going to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, why use that medium?
It's also that you have the classic anime effects, like fucking, you know, all those things they do in the slice of life, tears and whatever. All those funny, maybe for comedy with like.
But what a real active facial expressions be more connected?
Well, would anime work in live action, Christian? I don't think it does because
There's a disconnect.
there's a disconnect. There's like, maybe the
Well,
level of what's it called?
what are you talking
Well, how you believe something, the level of
about? The fucking.
whatever this believability is heavily skewed because it's an anime.
But I don't know, like why even? That's what I mean. Like these slice of life shows, I don't know why they insist on being animation when is it really utilizing the medium in an interesting.
Also, does it get questionable with real actors?
Oh, I guess it's very questionable.
You know, you can't do the strange things
I'm sure you could.
with real actors, maybe. Also, you just want to do things to explore the medium. It's been a very long time if anything new's happened.
Well, just look at.
The problem with 2D is like it keeps on dying and getting resurrected. It hasn't been consistent. Like it died for 20 years and now it's coming back.
But my point is like, when painting. When painters, when photos came, you know, when photography came out for painters,
Yeah.
they stopped doing photorealistic stuff because what's the point?
Yeah, well,
We have cameras now. What's the point?
well, Luffy isn't photorealistic. It's still its own visual thing.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we use the medium.
Yeah, I'm
'Cause
just
it's
saying.
it's a fantasy. It's a you got things you can't.
Sure,
do
but
right.
that doesn't excuse poor animation.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, you know, why bother using the medium of animation if you can achieve a better or same effect in a different medium?
Would it not be entertaining?
I don't know. I just want to see those animated movies.
Sure.
I don't know.
I think it'd be very strange in live action if you did those kind of shows.
I'm sure they exist. Those Japanese soap operas.
Sure.
I'm sure they exist.
I never understood what really happened with this Sanji Bon Clay fight when they kind of like clash in midair. Because it kind of like legs around.
They clash. Like what's the...
See, Christian, this game has better mouth animation than the anime.
The cutscenes are pretty good. I'm not really complaining about the cutscenes.
言葉はいらねえはずだぜ。
ライバルとの友情の証。あちしなんかない。
No, we're doing Sanji at the moment.
And then we'll do Luffy.
とどめは刺すのかよ。
No, you're supposed to lose that fight.
I don't know. We'll see. Like,
お前の芸に付き合ってる
can it be done? We could do both. And like, you see when I remember when that like Naruto fought whatever and Boruto, and there was like that combination. People went nuts for it.
Well, that's good choreography, good action, good.
Sure. There's always a time and a place for it. I think the audience understands when short have to take it. So take it. You can't do it. Can you? Very costly. Also, like, you know, talent level isn't the same across the studio. Producers leave all the time. And I find there's usually a disconnect between storyboard artists and actual animators. There's like huge disconnects between like people who do key poses that won't necessarily know how to animate. They're more illustrators than animators, which is a problem because they don't necessarily know what would work in the most effective way.
Well, you spent some time in animation studio.
Yeah.
What'd you go coming in, and what do you feel like coming in?
You know, you learn quite a bit, but
What do you think about the
structure needs work. I wouldn't structure it that way, but who knows? Maybe that's the most cost-effective way.
so like the business structure?
Sure, I would do things differently. The producers usually do the most complex things. They usually rough those out and then dish them out. But like, it's a problem with storyboard artists, illustrators, and storyboard artists, and have no animation experience.
Well, how do you get hired for that? You don't have any animation experience.
You have storyboard experience. That role.
When you get to study some sort of animation.
Not necessarily. Illustrators get into storyboarding all the time. Usually they show a lot of comic work for storyboard applications. And you know, if you've done actual storyboards of a show, they don't, because like an application won't be like, can you animate? It'll be show us that role that you want to apply for, which is storyboarding.
Would you say that's an issue?
Yes, and if I were running things, I'd make sure that everyone knew what everyone else was doing and had some kind of experience in that role. Would I have a rotation? Maybe.
And everyone to learn everything.
Yeah,
Concept.
maybe. If you had a tight team, you could maybe switch people around.
Yeah, if you had a tight team of all stars.
But they all have the. Yeah, everyone has the ability to do it. It's just like you have to invest in that ability, and then like, do you have time to invest in that ability?
It's like
Worth that investment. Because yeah, it's all so complex, and you know, communication, who's talking to who. These storyboards get changed by clients, you know. It's a lot.
yeah, how do you so yeah, writing like if you're a studio that does it all,
Yeah.
you've got writers, you've got storyboarders, you've got executives,
Sure.
you've got producers. Does the director have the most say?
Well, what usually happens is a project will hire writers and storyboarders for that project,
You have in-house.
and you'd have a producer for each role. Right. So
Just keep tabs or
yeah, there'd be a story producer which would probably which would oversee script writing and storyboarding, and there would be, and then they would manage that team. But the storyboard team changes often, high turnover rate for writers and storyboarders because they're the first to complete their role. So you don't necessarily keep the storyboarders, so maybe you don't have an in-house style. Well,
can't keep a story.
can you keep the vision throughout, and like, because you look at a series, right, or a movie, the DP keeps his vision throughout the entire piece.
But that's you can change kind of
Sure, but everyone has their own style of what they do, and like yeah, it's not like one storyboard artist does one episode. It's multiple people on one episode, so you could change styles from scene to scene, which becomes incongruent.
yeah. It's kind of like the One Piece anime.
Sure.
You got Natoshi, you got new guy, you got regular shit.
How does Zoro survive this?
Because he's a Zolo. Now people got a problem with Luffy as a Katakuri, and they don't care about this.
It's hype. We always talk about the hype ratio.
What is all things?
Now this is clearly Rio.
Now some people say it's not.
Ignoring.
Ignore what?
It's just ignoring what Hyogoro said. Now, Christian, I'm the only one to bring up that I'm pretty sure Wano dudes only know how to use haki on swords.
I'm only one to bring up that the Beast Pirates don't have haki.
I haven't seen it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Except for Batman in the anime.
We're gonna bring that up. We're gonna bring that up here.
あとは俺に
Now, if you look, if I was doing the One Piece anime, Christian, I would use Oda's manga panels as shot progression, as gospel, and add additional things. But I would use his manga panels as shot progression pretty closely, and I think that would grab the essence of what Oda is. But that would cause issues with, like, you know, episodes too
short.
You know, episodes as well, the content rushed through quickly. And you know, with adding scenes, you wanna look at how he does things.
Apparently they got a direct line to Oda, so
People just don't. I don't get it. It's so complex.
the animation world.
So yeah, let's say if I was a director, right, I'd have so much shit to do all day that like things would just get past.
You
me
can't
after.
just wait for Oda to give you the answer. Because Oda will take like 5 days to give you an answer on a question.
And they're not gonna fucking redo the entire storyboard, that's for sure. They'll skip it.
Yeah. So,
I'm sure he gives notes on specific things like
the colorings and
whatever, or like Denjiro's Kirishiro or whatever. Which people keep on telling me in these interviews, which no one ever gives me links to.
shit. There's one interview where Oda says the anime won.
Sure, but I
That's
hear that
accurate.
people tell me the producer knew about Kirishiro from the start and how Wano's gonna end. How One Piece is gonna end. Now, sure, Oda might have those things roughed out, but we know from his own mouth that he likes to take the journey with the audience. So he doesn't necessarily know the sequence of events to get to those endpoints.
Here's the problem. Oda is never going to change his work because the anime did something. So, page 1 not being knocked out might be an issue. Later on.
Yeah.
He was defeated while he was there.
Sure, and Oda will do whatever he likes.
Yeah, Oda's not going to bend this story for the anime. How close are we to
Not that far away. We should have Luffy coming up soon.
What do you think of Alabasta having a little extra plaza battle after all the fights? Well, why? I don't really understand that move. Because I guess the characters do something about Luffy fights.
Yeah,
But like,
and they get to react to like, and there's not really a focus on the arc anyway.
I kind of subscribe to the let's just show all the fights, you know,
In
at
succession.
their real time in succession.
We're
We'll go
cutting
back in
through them?
time. No, we'll go back in time. Because you need to see it all.
I don't know. Going back in time.
'Cause if we're, let's just say, because the way I
Well, figure it out. Have your fights do it in different time periods.
no. Because you want fights happening at the same time. You can't skip between them because you ruin the pacing of the fight.
Well, let's look at
you don't
something.
get to see it all.
Well, then you can't do something like Water 7 where like Frankie interrupts Chopper.
Well, that's a complete level of plan.
Yeah.
Because the fights go on at the same time. And if you want to do that, that's what you want to do. Like, have characters come in. But if you do pure 1v1s, like pure fights,
Yeah.
no interruptions, you want to show it all. You want to, and it's hard to really have fights not all happen at the same time.
Right.
Because why are these characters here waiting for you? So, why are we gonna skip the meat, the big finale? Why are we gonna skip that? Why we gonna skip any of it?
What if you fucking... You can start fights too early. Or you just don't want to draw it the succession of the fight. They're like Cancer Lords, right? Yeah. I basically have a montage of them just throwing fists at each other. Because that's not really the point of that thing. But you still get...
But would you say that's a serious fight? Or would you say that's a...
Well, it's more of like a fucking... Let's get to the fucking Shanks thing. And let's get to the end. Because like, I'm not gonna fucking do a serious fight.
But if you were gonna do a serious fight, would you cut? Would you cut in between?
Depends on the plot of the fight. Like, if it's just a straight up fucking fist fight, probably not. But how many fucking... It wouldn't last that long. In terms of like, actual panels. Like, how many fucking... Does the audience get bored with just fucking the same thing? I don't know.
Well, it's about the what the character learns in the fight. It's about. It's not really about.
Sure, I guess. But like, Oda rarely cuts Luffy's fights.
I mean, Katakuri was cut in between so many times.
Sure.
I mean, the final.
Well, like, Luffy vs. Crocodile wasn't interrupted the last time, was it? Not that much.
He always does one. He always does one chapter where it's just full fly.
Yeah.
Because right now we got stages.
Yeah.
The stages. The stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Stage 4, we go all the way back before stage 1 to show that whole fight because it's the final fight of the arc.
Alright.
So we're not gonna skip that entire time and not show that fight.
Alright.
So we're gonna go back and we're gonna show the entire fight. So we're gonna get the whole thing in there. The whole 3-chapter fight.
How do you feel about bridging the connective tissue? Do you feel like every hit is necessary?
Depends what we're doing. We're talking about what do we want to show. Because if it's a showpiece for a character, you want to show it.
You want to show what you basically just want to show what they learned in the fight.
No. first fight for
How much
first,
part- how
first
much-
real fight
yeah.
for a character, right?
Yeah.
You want to show what they're about, what they can do. Depends where it is in the story.
Right.
Because these fights happen after a time skip, and there's one new character they haven't really seen fight before.
Yeah.
So you want to show what the character's learned and what the new character can do. Like what's the arsenal, what's the moveset, you know.
Yeah.
So you want to show it all. You don't want to skip around and fucking interrupt. You know.
It just depends on what you want to do. Cause like, what I'd usually do is start the fight, get to a midpoint, and then like cut to someone else starting a fight, and then when that midpoint's over, I'd cut to the end of that, and then switch like that.
Would you imply that time is fast?
Yeah, like they'd be fucked up.
No, I don't like that. I want to see the whole thing. Because then there's questions. What happened here? How long has it been? What are we talking about?
Right.
Well, you know, if you have ridiculously long fights like One Piece does, it's a bit impossible.
But the reason why I don't like doing time jumps is it like ruins kind of destroys the flow of time. In a way. Because you're like, preview 10 minutes before, 40 minutes before, fucking, this was happening then.
Well,
You don't do that in like. To me, it's like be smarter with your planning so everything can happen in a smooth, continuous line. I'm not necessarily a fan of like non-linear timelines.
my thought about it is,
Because I understand that you want to get the entire fight
you
in,
want to get it all.
but can you manipulate that in a way that's still linear time?
Well, when you have 4 fights going on at the same time, what can you really fit in a chapter?
Yeah. That's why I like cut back to them implying time has passed. Because if like there's a crossroads of like they're both in the middle trying to fucking, and there's no real gain. If there's no gain anymore in showing a fight, I'd cut and then come back to where they gained, the moment before they gained something and then show that gain. You don't just want to get stagnant in just trading blows, because what's the point?
No, in my mind, 16-page chapter, there's probably 3 to 4 action sequences. Like 3 to 4 proper action sequences.
Like a combination or
like a combination or a big attack.
Sure.
Yeah, 3 or 4 of those. Right? We're talking dialogue before, we're talking wind-ups, we're talking clashes, we're talking reactions.
Yeah.
You do probably 3 to 4 of those per chapter, realistically. Fit that in there. Now, is that... You can't come up with 3 to 4 different effects, 3 to 4 different sequences 2 characters can do?
Well, it's different for me because like with something like Cancel Lords, I've been doing it monthly. It's literally 20 pages, so I've got to be brief in terms of like what I'm doing. So like, say if I had like 20 pages weekly, even so, like you look at like Law vs Smoker, that's like half the chapter, right? In like the first time they meet, is that enough? I think that's enough. Like, you also like it depends. Like if it's their full fight, you want to show everything, sure. But I don't know. It's hard. It all depends on what you want to do. Because like, what's the purpose? Is the key. For your example, you want to show everything this character's got. So then the next time you show them, they learn something new, or they learn something new in this fight. But I think it's okay to like cut when the fight becomes a question of stamina rather than learning.
Yeah, like that. You don't want to be in that place where it's just a question of stamina.
Unless you want to exhaust the audience by mirroring that emotion of the character.
Well, you want to. In my mind, you want to. A fight's more.
Which is a risky move because like the audience could get bored.
Is a fight more about outsmarting, outpowering? You know, what are you trying to achieve with this character motivation? every fight is a different opponent. It should be the character should react to that fight in a different way. So if the character can't win with brute strength, you go, how does he win with tech? How does he win with skill? How does he win with
Intellect,
tricks?
sure.
Yeah. So why I don't know why you necessarily would do the stamina route.
Well,
When you know you're just gonna cut away from that because you know people don't want to see it.
sure.
Like why would you ever
I don't know, it depends. Like,
put something in the story people don't want to see?
do you wanna fucking like depends? Like, how badly do you want these characters injured? Do they get injured from one blow each? What's the situation? No. Have you set it up? Because yeah, when I did that thing in Cancel Wars, it wasn't really like considering. It was more for the bit of the Shanks one shot than fucking
Actual.
I'm gonna lose this, huh?
You gonna do the mission or what? You lose this.
I don't know. Do I win? I think it's a fucking.
Event?
I think it's like a thing. Defeat, yeah. Sweet.
You lost.
I lost.
Too distracted.
Too distracted. I wasn't really reading. Alright, so I think this is where we end this stream. Sure.
Alright. Do you want a Let's Play series? What do you guys want? What do you guys want? What do you want? Well, Let's Play series, what do you want? Do you want 20 minutes, hours? Do you want editing? What do you want?
Who knows? What's going on here?
Because I imagine that, you know, Roger's probably going to do live streams about on this game. And now you're really here to see the game. Or you're here to, you know, what are you here for?
Alright, we'll see what's going on, you know?